Okay, so is this whiteboard visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So in the
ma'am.
last class, we have been studying about the introductory part of this data structure. So
Ma'am,
there,
your sound is very slow.
uh, now is it okay? I think you need to increase your sound as well because I have been taking class using this only. I have been noticing that only when I am going to take this fourth semester class, they are saying my sound is low. Otherwise, rest of the classes they interact with me, they give me answers and all that. So it may happen that your sound is low. So you check it once.
Okay,
And
ma'am.
everyone, just do not write your name in the chat box because it's a combined class of electrical and EC. I won't be able to search you and give the attendance. Write your name and beside that write your department as well. When you people can give your attendance in the chat box, but you write your name and beside that give a dash and then write your department as well, so that I will be able in which department to look for your name and give the attendance to you. Okay. So in the last class, we have been studying about this introductory part, like what was data structure all about, then what are the different types of data structure, then what are the different operations we can perform of data structure. So today we will start, the main topic is asymptotic notations. But before that, we will just study a small topic which is known as abstract data type. So this abstract data type, it is the way we look at a data structure. We have been studying about a lot of data structure, right? The array, stack, queue, linked list, so on. So the way we look at a data structure, we refer to it as abstract data type. It is not any separate data structure. It is just the data structure we have been studying. Among those data structures, which are the data structures we refer to is as abstract data types. So we here what happens is we focus on what the data structure does and we ignore that how the data structure is doing its job. Now, if I talk about this abstract data type, I said that in this we will focus on what the data structure is doing and how it is doing, we are ignoring it. That means if I can give an example, stack is an example, queue is an example. Why is it an example? Because when we do programmings using this stack and queue, do we actually calculate how the stack is storing the storing the value in the memory, how the stack is calculating and incrementing? We do not give importance to that. We write our programs, we see that our code is okay, whatever the variables needed to be defined and declared, we have done that. I have compiled my program and my program compilation is not giving me any errors. I will run my program, I will give input and I will get the output. So this is my focus when I apply these things. So, and this stack and queue we can implement using an array and linked list. So this is the nature of this abstract data type. That is, whenever we are dealing with data structures and we are only dealing with what the data structure will do, and we are not dealing it that how the data structure will perform, those concepts we refer to as abstract data type. Now this is a theoretical concept. Okay, this is not like you can see any abstract data type with your eyes. There is no categorization of this. It is a concept. So if you further want to understand this abstract data type, so I will break the term into two meanings. One is I can have this abstract word, and another is I can have this data type word. So this abstract data type I can bifurcate and I can divide it into two types. Now, data type, as you all know, that is the type of data that a variable will handle. It can take rather. As input, the type of data it can take, we refer to it as the data type. So, like int, char, float, double, these are the data types. And when we talk about data types, we actually consider two things, that is, the data item and also the permissible operations. Permissible operations on the data item. Suppose if I declare a data item or I declare a variable as int. Suppose I am declaring a variable as int. So I know that the range of the data items can be, this is the permissible range of whole numbers value. So if I declare my stack to be of int variables, that it will contain int variables, then definitely I need to put as input only those variables which will lie between this range, right? So whenever we will declare a data type, it will include two things, that is the value that is from this range, and whenever I am saying int, I can do addition, I can do multiplication, I can do subtraction, I can do division, like this. So the operations that can be performed on a data type, it is an inseparable part. So whenever I declare data type, I will declare two things, that is what kind of or what value, what data can it hold, and what are the type of operations that I can perform on this data. Okay. So this is the meaning of the word data type. And what is the meaning of the word abstract? Now, abstract means, like suppose in C, it can be anything that is considered regard of its implementation. That is, it is considered as a description of the data with its structure and a list of operations that can be performed on that data within that structure. So, if I say that my stack is an example of my abstract data type, if I say it is an abstract, so whenever I am declaring it as abstract, if you notice, stack will have few things associated with it. That is, it will have a top variable, it will have a max variable, it will check underflow condition before deleting, it will check overflow condition before inserting an element. So these are all the things that are associated with stack, right? But these things doesn't say that how the stack is implemented in the memory wise, in the computer memory, in the physical thing, how is it stored, how is it thing, these things it doesn't implement. It just implies that a set of operations or a set of things that are associated with this stack. So this is the concept of the term abstract, that is, as an end user, that they are not concerned about the details of how the methods are carried out. They are only concerned about what work can be done. So suppose if I use a stack, so the user is concerned about the type of data and the operations. And by type of the data and operations, we know that for stack we can use a push function, we can use a pop function, then these are the functions. Then using these functions we can insert, we can delete. So these are the concepts that are related, but this concept doesn't necessarily imply that I need to know that how this data is being stored when I am programming. So this is the concept that why these data structures are also known as abstract data types. Is this thing clear? Do you have any question on the topic of abstract data types?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is my voice audible now, right? Like someone was saying it was not audible. Now it is audible.
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's audible.
So I think na sometimes it happens that maybe your network also it's not supporting because I was noticing that last 2 days I was taking class in all the semesters, but they were not saying that my voice is not audible. So I said that. Okay. So this was the concept about abstract data type. Now we will be starting our new topic. Okay. Uh, okay. Now the very famous topic, that is the time and space complexity. Now when we analyze an algorithm, we determine two things, that is the amount of resources that is needed to execute it, and amount of resources it includes two things. When we talk about this analysis of an algorithm, we mean that the amount of resources required in order to execute that algorithm. And when we say this amount of resources, two sections are there. One is with respect to time and another is with respect to memory. Okay. So this algorithm, they are designed to work with any number of inputs and also arbitrary number of inputs, because if until and unless I check my algorithm with a random set of inputs, else how will I be able to know whether my algorithm is efficient or not to handle all type of complex data. So whenever I will want to search the complexity, I will definitely need to give input any random variables, obviously within the range only. That is, suppose my algorithm is there to, it will only handle integer values and I am giving as input decimal values. Then it will be definitely not be able to work and I will comment that your algorithm is not good. Not like that. Definitely within the range of that permissible values, whatever random and arbitrary numbers I can give an input, it will help me to denote or to identify what is this time and the space complexity of my algorithm. Now, this time complexity of an algorithm, it is basically what? It is basically the running time of a program as a function of its input size. Suppose I have an algorithm, I have a program rather, and I will give some input to the program, right? So suppose I giving n number of inputs to the program. So in order to execute that n number of inputs, some time will be taken. Suppose time taken is 4 seconds to execute this n number of inputs to my algorithm. So this 4 second is definitely the time complexity. So if suppose n number of inputs, for n number of inputs, I have 4 seconds uh, it takes 4 seconds to execute and give me the result. Then for 2n number of inputs, definitely this number of seconds will improve. Or suppose for n square inputs, definitely this seconds will improve. So as my input will increase, my execution time will increase. Automatically, as my input will decrease, my execution time will also decrease. So when you will study now, you will see this time complexity is always denoted in function of for n. That is, it has a relationship with the input size. According to the input size, the time complexity increase or decrease. And it may have a logarithmic function, it may have a direct function, it may have a linear function, it may have a quadratic function. Whatever function it is, how it is related, that is secondary. But always the time complexity of any algorithm, of any input size, it is related to the input size to the program. Is this concept clear? Why we say that this time complexity is as a function of its input size?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this space complexity, this space complexity, it as I know that space will denote what? It will denote that the amount of computer memory that is required when the program is executed. So it will also be in a function of input size, because if I have more number of inputs, I will be requiring more area. Suppose there is an array where only the array size is 3, then I will require 3 memory locations. If I have an array of the size suppose 10, then I will require 10 memory locations. So definitely on the amount of memory, that is on the amount of input, the size of the input, definitely the amount of space or the amount of memory which is allocated, it is also dependent. So more the number of inputs, more memory will be needed to execute or to store those values. Less the number of inputs, less memory will be needed to store those values. So this place complexity is also is expressed as a function of its input size. Okay, so both this space complexity and this time complexity, they are denoted as the function of the size of the input to the algorithm or to the program. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when I will be dealing with time and space complexity, you will see that in real world we are only concentrated more on the time complexity, because this, if we reduce our size, or if we reduce our time, we aim at doing more instructions in lesser amount of time, it is seen that the amount of space which is by default given to us, it is sufficient for us to run the programs and all. And if it is seen that we will need more memory, definitely we will, when we are developing something, we will be needing more memory. But if I can draw a relationship between this input size and time, it is more or less enough for me to commute that how much is the complexity of my algorithm. So everything in today's world is more dependent on time. We say time is money. So time is the most important factor. In fact, between this space and time is the most. If suppose we have an algorithm where it will take a bigger size, but if I give that much amount of size, my algorithm will work in 1 microsecond and it will give me the a result. So the company will think that not an issue, I will give and I will invest in buying some memories. What an issue in that? Because this memory, if I buy it, it will be one time investment for me. So using this amount of space, if I buy it one time, I can run this program for innumerable number of inputs and I can get in lesser time. So I will invest money where there is need of space. I will invest in making or in enlarging the space. But where there is need of time, I will be interested more in reducing the time of any algorithm. This is the main concept, that why we give so much focus on the time complexities of different algorithms. Okay, now we will go deeper in this. So three things are associated, that is worst case time complexity, best case time complexity, then average case time complexity. So from the name itself, it denotes what? This worst case time complexity or worst case running time, it will denote that the behavior of algorithm with respect to the worst possible cases of the input size. That is, for one I will write down and rest I won't write. আমি ক্লাসে আছি, পরে কথা বলছি। Okay, so this behavior, how my algorithm is behaving when I am giving worst possible input to my algorithm, that suppose it will compute some running time, that will become the worst case running time or the worst case time complexity for my algorithm. And what will be the best case? That is how my algorithm will behave when I am giving the best possible input size to my algorithm. That will become the best case running time or the best case time complexity of an algorithm. And average case, as you can see, it is middle in between. That is what will be my behavior of the algorithm when I give an average possible input. Now I will explain this with an example. Suppose I have a array. Suppose there are few elements inserted in my array. Okay. Suppose I tell you that write a searching algorithm and find that, write a searching algorithm. So you will first write a searching algorithm, whether it is a linear search algorithm or a binary search algorithm, you will write it. Then I will ask you, find, give 8 as input to this array in order to find whether it is giving me a result that yes, I have searched and it is present. So when I will use one searching algorithm and I, for this array specifically, and I will give as input 8 in order to search this array and give me the result, it will definitely give me an yes, because it has been able to find 8 in the array. But how many times did he needed to search this array? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many times? Anyone?
4 times.
हाँ, 4 टाइम कैसे हुआ? यहाँ से स्टार्ट करेगा ना एरे को सर्च करना।
ओ स्टार्टिंग से मैम?
हाँ, सर्चिंग तो स्टार्टिंग से ही होता है एरे का। तुम एरे जब सर्चिंग माने करेंगे हम इसके बाद, जब किसी सपोज इफ यू आर आस्क्ड दैट फाइंड how many suppose you are asked that find in which room I have left the laptop and your house has 7 rooms, so obviously you will start from the gate. तो जाहिर सी बात है. So if you search from the first, how many searches would you require in order to find 8?
1.
1.
1, ma'am.
And suppose I am telling you that search 12. How many did you require?
4.
2 and 4.
4. And suppose I am telling you to search, suppose 16.
3.
3.
3.
So this means that when I am giving input 8 to my algorithm, it is giving me the result in first iteration. That is the best case input size. when for any searching algorithm the search element is present at the first place only, then I need to search anymore further in my algorithm. पहले ही हमको फर्स्ट सर्च में ही फर्स्ट लोकेशन में ही मिल गया. So this is the best case input. And when I am going on searching my algorithm, and suppose I have an element to search which is located at the last location of my array, then this is obviously the worst case, because this searching algorithm I applied one time, two time, three time, last time, for last location I got. And suppose for that example also, suppose I have an example, suppose I want to search 3. So they will search, it will search my array one time, two time, for this, still it won't find. So it will tell me no. So for this also, it searched my algorithm 4 times and did not find it. And for 2 also, it searched my algorithm 4 times but found it. So in any of the cases, what I had to do, I had to go through all the elements I have in order to find that whether that element is present or not present. So this is an example of worst case scenario. That is, I either have my element to be searched at the last of the array, or I do not have the element at all. So this is an example of worst case scenario. And suppose
मैम
if
2 सेकंड मिशन भी तो है.
हाँ हाँ, ओ अच्छा अच्छा,
2
रिपीट
to
कर
मैम
दिया ना, सॉरी 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 सॉरी, रिपीट कर दिया, सॉरी. And suppose I have 16, suppose I have 16, so this is an average one, क्योंकि हमको I did only, out of the 4 elements I did only 3 times and I got 16. Or if I would have searched 12, it's also an average one. Out of the 4 I did only 2 times and I got 12. So this is an example of the best case input, of the worst case input, and of the average case input. And the corresponding running time it takes for computing this average case, we refer to is at average case time complexity, worst case time complexity, best case time complexity. That is average case running time, worst case running time, best case running time. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, another thing is, what is this time space trade-off? Now, if I think about any algorithm, that how can I say that this is the best algorithm? What will be my ideal case? My ideal case is that I will be able to solve a particular problem that will require less memory space and that will require less time to complete its execution. But it has been seen that practically on the ground level, designing such an ideal algorithm is very, very hectic and very, very impossible rather. So there can be more than one algorithm also to solve a particular problem, because you have seen when you do C programming, suppose you are giving a problem, some people implement it using array, some people implement it using linked list. So when you use an array, you have a fixed number of memory size to be allocated, but when you use linked list, you have more number of memory places to allocate now, because each node will contain two values. So this thing, because solving a particular problem, it may also depend on what type of algorithm that person has chosen, right? So one may require less memory space while the other may require less CPU time to execute. So which one to sacrifice for which one, it is a trade off, it is a debatable question, that I will give more emphasis on space or I will give more emphasis on time. But why is it given more emphasis on time? Because sometimes, why this trade off comes, because sometimes, suppose if space is a big constraint for the company which I am making this algorithm, or for the kind of users I will make this algorithm for, then space will be a big problem, then I will focus on time. And sometimes, if time is not a major constraint, so I will more focus on space. So like this, there is always a trade off or always a debatable thing that which one I will take. But if you do a survey, you will see that the most important factor is time. We are more uh, like focused on finding the different time complexity. Okay, now how do we express this time and space complexity? As we say that this time complexity and place complexity, they were related to the function of input, that is how many input size to a program they are related to. So obviously they will be related as a function of n, where n is my input size, n is my input size for a given instance of a problem. Suppose for this problem my input size was 4, for a different problem my input size is 10. So whatever my problem is, depending on that problem my n will have a value. So when I am saying that this complexity, what do we exactly want to derive? So we want to predict the rate of growth. You will notice that whenever we will be studying these complexities, there will be not any constant number, there will be some functions. Now why is that? Because suppose I have one algorithm and I want to find out how my algorithm will react. One day I am giving 10 inputs, one day I am giving 100 inputs, next day I am giving 1000, next day I am giving 20. So is this really possible to give this random permutation combination and go on giving this? No, it is not possible. So always, if I try to find out, I will try to see a relationship with my input size. For the problem or the array just we saw that for the best case, I was having the result at the first location. So the value was 1. But for the worst case, that is my element is present at the last or my element is not present at all, I had to go through all the elements of my array. So if my array size is n, I will have to go through n number of elements for the searching process. So definitely for worst case, my search process was in the order of n. If I have 10 searches. If I have 100 searches. If I have 2000 searches. So I will say that this is my order of complexity, right? It is n. So this is the way that we predict the rate of growth of complexity as the input size will increase or increase, and with this n, that is in relationship to this input size n, we will derive. And also, since there are multiple algorithms to find a solution to one given problem, so we need to find that which algorithm is efficient. So suppose if I have built 3 algorithms in order to solve my problem, I need to find the time complexity of these 3 time algorithms with respect to my input size, that is in terms of my input size n only. And with respect to this, if I get out of these 3 the most least time taking time complexity value which I will get, that value I will choose. Suppose I have a value n and I have a value n square and I have a value of log n. So obviously log n will be the least value among these 3 algorithms. Whatever be the size of n, log n will always give me the least value. So I will choose my algorithm 3. So when I have multiple algorithms to choose, we need to find that which algorithm is the most efficient. And for finding that, we need to find in terms of, that is, we need to find the relationship with this input size and the running time with, in terms of this n only, that is our number of elements or our input size only. And then we express that in the order of this function of n, and then we find out. Okay. And if we talk about this time complexity, three most famous time complexity is big O, big omega, and big theta. It is big O, it is big omega, and it is